All right, guys, I'm walking to my garden now, so we can start talking about the where of your garden plot. All of our light in the southern hemisphere comes from the south. It's very enthusiastic. All of our light comes from the south side of everywhere. So this garden behind me is on the north side of my house. Why did I do it that way? Because the south side of my house is a septic field. So while the south side of your house is the ideal spot, especially if you have southern unobstructed views, sometimes that doesn't work out, and that's okay too. So for example, my plot here, which is still getting finished, but you can see we've got the 2 beds in production now. We have some mature trees to the south, and we have a garage to the south of us. But neither of those are high enough up in the sky to block a significant amount of light. So what you're looking for is, again, southern side of your house is the best, but any other side will work if you have things that are not too high, so that when the sun takes its path, it goes like, whoop. When the sun takes its path overhead, it's shining down full sun on your garden. Cool season crops will do okay in the summer under dappled shade. So if you only have areas that are under trees and those leaves create what we call dappled shade, you can still do things like broccoli and cauliflower and lettuce, Brussels sprouts, spinach, kale, those sort of things, carrots, beets, radishes. You can still do those during the summer in that dappled shade. So there is still stuff that you can grow if you only have shade at your house. The other consideration when you're picking your garden spot is you want somewhere that's kind of flat. There are things you can do, like a check log terrace for areas that are sloped, but by far the least stressful and least labor intensive spot is going to be one that's more or less flat. I don't know if you can tell here, but we are actually on a medium sized slope. It's nothing that would nothing that will impair my gardening, but it's not a perfectly flat plot. That's okay too. So we've talked southern views. You want south facing unobstructed views, and we've talked slope. You want a more or less flat piece of land. The other thing you're going to want is something that's convenient to your lifestyle in your house. So if you put your garden over on a side yard that you never see, you never walk past, you never look at, you're going to forget to water and you're going to forget to weed, and your garden is not going to be as productive as it would be if you have somewhere that you look out every day. I can see this garden from my bedroom window, and I like that. I like to look out at the garden in the morning as the sun's coming up, but you want something that you're going to be reminded of, and you're going to go, oh crap, I forgot to water the beets yesterday. So far we have southern views, we have convenient location, and we have fairly level land. And you guys, that's really it. There's not a lot to this. It's not that complicated. All you need is those 3 things, and if you can find a 20 by 20 spot with those 3 things, you can put a huge dent in your family's grocery bill and your dependence on commercial food, just if you have those 3 things. A couple other hot tips that don't necessarily warrant their own category here is, number 1, drainage. Why I didn't mention it. I did not mention drainage, and if you have ever read anything about gardening articles, they always do. I'll tell you why. Because I'm going to tell you to either grow in raised beds or to grow in these raised rows. Raised beds are a little more expensive. Raised rows are a little cheaper. We'll go further into that in a later lesson, but drainage doesn't really matter when you're using these things. If you want to do no labor, if you want to just pick a spot on your lawn, put cardboard over it and plant into it, in 2 weeks, that's totally fine, but you're going to want a spot that doesn't puddle when it rains. So if we have a heavy rain and you have a spot that always kind of stays soggy, don't pick that spot if you want to garden directly in the ground. And the last thing I wanted to say, just in the midst of all the panic here, we live in a house that was built in 1750, and in excavating these things, I think that there was a building of some sort here. I think probably a barn, and we found lots of these square nails. So these are handmade square iron nails. We found this, which I can't really figure out what it is, but it's a piece of iron that I think was poured into something. I found bricks. I found a stone foundation. I found pieces of glass that are molded that were maybe a cup or something. And it's just been a constant reminder to me that life goes on. People lived in my house through the Spanish influenza, which killed like 20% of the world's population. People lived in my house through multiple wars. Life goes on, man. we're going to be okay. And the world is going to keep moving, and this will not be the illness that extincts the human race. I don't think that we even really understand what the long-term fallout will be here. And I do think it will be great, but the world's going to keep on spinning. So put on your big girl pants, stop panicking, stop overbuying the toilet paper, and get out and start a garden. Pick a spot tonight. Pick a spot where you want to start your garden, be it 20 by 20 or 10 by 10 or 5 by 5 or a single 4 by 8 bed or 10 Home Depot buckets. I don't care. Go pick a spot. Tomorrow I'll be back on with what to grow and where you get it. I've struggled with anxiety for probably the past 5 years now, panic attacks, the whole deal. And one thing that always makes me feel better is feeling like I have a little bit of control. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling panicked and you're also bored at home and all you have to do is search the news and see all the terribleness, put your phone down, go pick a spot to have a garden and have a little bit of control, just a little bit of control over the things that are happening around you right now. Tune in. Tomorrow we'll do seed starting, like I said, or seed choosing, like I said, and we'll go from there, okay? Have a good night.